Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We are here for Simplify 2019. This is the second session in a series of 3 where we're going through topics within the drinking water industry to help you understand some of the best resources and how you can find those using wateroperator.org. We hope you learn something new both about what types of resources and training events are available to you, as well as how you can dig even deeper into the resources that we have on our website. So a couple things to get started. My name is Jennifer Wilson. I am your hostess here today. I'm also be joined by Hideyuki Terashima, a colleague here at the University of Illinois. We work on wateroperator.org, which is a site funded in partnership with RCAP, the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, with funding from the US EPA. Everything we do here in our program is completely free. We don't charge for anything. We don't sell any ads. We do this as a service to the public and the community that serves the drinking water industry. One of the reasons we wanted to do this particular series this year is we know that there's so many resources available on the internet, both online training, lists and access to in-person workshops around the country, such great things that are happening, as well as hundreds, if not, literally thousands of resources out there that can be difficult to find. We all love Google, but it can be difficult to find exactly what you need right now to solve your problem or to solve someone else's problem that you're serving. So we hope to be able to help you get access to that information with a little bit more ease. So on today's webinar, if you do have a question, we will have time at the end for a few questions. So you can submit that via your chat box anytime. We'll review those at the end and make sure you get an answer. If there's some questions we're not able to answer, if you can leave your email address within your question, we will make sure that we can follow up with you in person afterwards via an email. Because I know we won't be able to get to everything, but we will do our best. All right, so to kick things off, what I want to do is this little poll. I just want to know who you are affiliated with. So we have federal government, state government, TA providers, operators, or other. Oftentimes we have consultants, manufacturers, other industry representatives, associations. All right, we'll wait just a few more seconds. I do appreciate all of you taking your time out of your day to attend our webinar. Okay, we will close the poll and share those results. So we've got 62% state government, very typical of what we would expect for this. We know that some of our very best partners in this work are those of you who work for primacy agencies and are helping and serving water systems day to day. And of course, we have 19% operators on here as well. Our site is really designed for you. But we also know that all of those out there that are helping you and helping you get your job done are the ones that can help remind you of this information as well. Thank you for participating in the poll. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes here sharing why we developed wateroperator.org. Now, I love this photo from the movie Office Space. Some of that may be might be one of your favorite movies, or you may not even be familiar with it. I know we have some of the younger generations here as well. There's a lot of frustration out there when it comes to the internet. And while that has improved so much over the past decade since we launched the site, there's that wealth of information can make it difficult to find what you need. And so when we started the wateroperator.org, which you may have been familiar in the past with it as smallwatersupply.org, it was to help you kind of cut through that clutter with state websites that are always changing, federal websites that can get buried in bureaucracy, and just the difficulty of getting access to what you need across the universe of the internet, particularly when there's so many terms within our industry. Asset management is a great example that make it difficult for you to find the water-specific information that you need when you try to Google it. So what if you could basically solve all of your problems. Now, we can't do your work for you, but we can help unclutter your email inbox. Maybe you won't need to subscribe to as many newsletters anymore of lots of different opportunities because you can find it in one place. We help you get access to local training in your state, in your jurisdiction, and we want to give you that place that's the place you can always start to find information. We're not perfect. We may not have everything, but we do our very best. We comb the internet. We have a full team of folks whose job it is, including my colleague here, Hideyuki, to comb the internet and seek out both current training events and new resources to make sure that we have the best of the best available. So this is what our homepage looks like. Wateroperator.org is this information portal as I've described, and in a second I will jump to a really brief demonstration. But what we have these three key features. We have a national calendar listing more than 10,000 events annually. I wasn't kidding when I said that we go out and comb the internet. We really, really do. We have a routine of visiting websites for more than 800 organizations to get their new information and new trainings. We also have more than 15,000 publicly available free resources listed in our resource library. And as I will show you, we have ways of filtering those down to exactly what you need. So we do the legwork because we know that you have much better things to do than spend time online. All right, so I'm going to jump over to the website real quick here. Oh, I wanted to go to this one. There we go. So again, here's our homepage. You can really get easy access to our calendar, the resource library, or jump over to our blog. We really try hard to keep up on the latest information to help you get access to news releases, but what we really, really excel in is aggregating information. Since we have access to so many different resources, we try to help you find the best, which is one of the reasons we were doing this webinar, but to then filter those down to what we think is going to be the most helpful, most useful, and we often share those in our blog posts. While some blogs are more focused on what's new and what's timely, we try to make everything on our blog be more evergreen. And what that means is that it will be as useful to you now as it is several years in the future. Another feature I wanted to point out is our newsletter. This is the very best way to keep up to date with wateroperator.org. Sign up for our newsletter. We do our regular newsletter twice a month. We also have two topical specific newsletters, our technology newsletter, as well as one for tribal utilities and tribal issues. So I'll just pop one of these up here from the past. This is from December. Here we actually provided some guidance on creating an ethics checklist. Some of our original content here. We have a little infographic as well on what would be included in that for a water system. We love linking to free resources similar to what you'll see in today's webinar, upcoming trainings. And one of my favorite parts is we're always looking for interesting news articles. Because again, we don't want you to have to subscribe to everybody's newsletter. We hope you just subscribe to ours, and then we'll try to filter that out to figure out what's going to be most relevant and interesting to you, and particularly for those of you who serve small and rural areas. All right, so you're going to see a lot of our website throughout the rest of this webinar. I'm going to leave the demo at that, and we'll hop back over to the presentation. All right, so our first section is treatment. I'm going to pass the baton to Hideyuki.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is my screen showing right?
It is.
All right, perfect. All right. So before I begin my part, I just wanted to start by saying that this is pretty difficult to just select several resources in a span of 1 hour, specifically related to water treatment, because it's such a broad topic and there are so many resources out there. So I just want everyone to know that there are much more resources and variety of treatment related topics on our database than the ones I'll be covering today. And through our site demonstration, which I'll be doing for each resource, you'll be able to see just how many documents just a single keyword can bring up. Right. So I'll be talking about water treatment related resources today, and the first resource I wanted to go over was handbooks and manuals that are available to the public for free. Organizations like AWWA have really comprehensive operator manuals, but they cost a decent amount of money, and every year they release a new version, and not many operators, especially for small system operators, might have the funds to access those. So I found two operator handbooks that covers a variety of topics, including water treatment. The first handbook is titled A Guide to Package Filtration and Disinfection Technologies with Remote Monitoring and Control Tools, which was developed by the US EPA, and I'll actually bring that up right here. So it's this 73-page manual, and it provides detailed information on contaminants, common water supply problems and violations, uh, mainly on small systems, regulatory overviews, as well as treatment technologies that are widely used with a focus on filtration and disinfection. I kind of wanted to find a broader manual that doesn't necessarily focus on filtration, but if you're a small system, you might be using filtration. This is a really handy handbook. And I'm going to go scroll through this real quick and show you what kind of information is on here. Here are some regulatory summaries. And I should say that this handbook is from 2003, so some of the information, like the lead and copper rule, is out of date, but all the other information is still the same. All the regulations are still the same. Regulated contaminants are the same. MCLs might have changed, but all the information and variety of other treatment-related technologies you can find on here. And if I scroll all the way to down here, here's some examples of treatment technologies that are out there for surface water treatment, disinfection technologies, filtration technologies. Here's a table of contaminants of concern and possible solutions to treat those contaminants. And the nice thing about this document is, and here are some overviews of different types of filtration. Here's some bag filters. If we go down here, I believe there was UV or ultrafiltration systems and much more. And the cool thing about this handbook is if you go all the way to the bottom, there are some funding and technical resources that you can access. The stuff about information about the drinking water state revolving funds. All the information is on here. So it is a pretty useful handbook. And the second handbook that I want to talk to you about is from the Oregon Health Authority, and they developed a handbook covering the essential information that a water operator needs to know. So this handbook provides, again, detailed information on conventional treatment methods, and it shows diagrams showing how each treatment method works, and so you can help visualize the process. And it also includes information on regulations, sampling requirements, public notice requirements, how to prevent leaks, distribution system related problems, and how to develop an operation and maintenance manual as well. So this one's 155 pages. Clearly, it's much more, includes much more information from, if you go to the table of contents right here, you can find all that different information on here. So these manuals can be found in our document database, and the way our document database works is we have several types of filters. We have 4 filters right here, which are categories, types of documents, if it's related to a specific state, a filter, and the actual host of the document. So for example, if you want to find these documents, let's select the type to manual handbooks, and let's select category to water treatment, which is all the way down here. And if we select the host, since we know this is from the EPA and this one's from the Oregon Health Authority, let's go to US EPA. So right now for manual handbooks that's related to water treatment from the US EPA, we have 39 documents. And if we scroll through all the different pages, here we have the actual document. And it should load eventually. Here we go. So this is essentially how you navigate through our website. You can also search using keywords. I believe manuals, operator handbooks, those should work as well. So that's a basics of how to use our resource library. Now, let's reset this and go to our second resource. So the second resource I have today is a handy 7-page fact sheet, and it's titled National Primary Drinking Water Regulations, and it's developed by the US EPA. I'm pretty sure most people have some sort of information on what exactly or what the MCL of each different contaminants are, but I'm not an operator and I'm not a state regulator. I don't have all this information memorized. So if someone calls me and asks, I have a problem with arsenic, what should I be doing? What are the actual limits that I should be looking at? I always refer back to this document and find the information I need. And this fact sheet's handy because it provides information on the actual MCL, potential health effects on people, or if for a long-term exposure, and the common sources of where these contaminants come from. And but I do have to say, I know some states have lower limits for certain contaminants than the actual limit, the federal limit on here. Like, for example, I know New Jersey has an arsenic limit of 5 ppb, as opposed to 10 ppb, which is listed on here. And I believe the beginning of this year, New Hampshire is proposing to lower their limit as well. So this is just all the federal limits, but it's still, a handy fact sheet to have. So, this document can be found in our database by selecting the type of the document as a fact sheet and the category as drinking water standards. And just from these two filters, we have 340 documents that show up. And in this case, we know the host is US EPA. So if you go to US EPA again, not that one. We narrowed it down to 65 documents. So if we use a keyword, drinking water regulations, here we go. We have the actual document pop up. So let's reset this again and move on to our next resource. So the next resource is actually a video series developed by the Rural Community Assistance Partnership. And I'm the kind of person that can learn things much easier if I'm watching a video than reading stuff. So I've actually gone through and watched all of the videos I'm about to talk about, and I do have to say that they're really helpful. So these videos are actually designed more for the layman, leaders, board members, and other decision makers of rural communities rather than actual operators that would probably already know all this information. And I wanted to put this in here in case some of our audiences might be those a board member or someone, and and they don't necessarily know exactly what goes on in their small system. So by watching these videos, leaders, board members should be able to understand the operation and maintenance involved during water treatment and help understand why renovations or expansions are necessary, especially if it's a system that's old. They don't have the money or funding necessary to upgrade anything, but an operator may know that, but the board member might not be giving them enough money. So this is to help board members understand what goes on in water treatment and all the vital components that are within a small system, like pumps, motors, etc. So these videos can be found by either searching RCAP on their Vimeo page, or we actually have each individual videos on our database as well. So if we go to type and select videos, which is at the very bottom down here, and category, once again, let's do water treatment, and select the host as RCAP. This one. So we have 7 videos, drinking water treatment introduction, which is actually the video on the slide right here. And I think this one's, a minute 45. All their videos are around 2-3 minutes. I think their longest one is 7 minutes. But yeah, they actually take place. They recorded the actual videos at an actual treatment plant. So they describe the process while the actual process is going behind them. So it's really helpful. It makes you imagine that you're actually at the treatment facility. So it's very helpful. And now we're actually going to talk about actual water treatment related topics. So, again, just choosing few topics within this time frame was hard. So I kind of limited to topics that are, popular right now or is a concern. And I want to start off with arsenic, since this is still a prevalent issue and is one that I commonly hear about in central and southern Illinois. I've actually been to small systems around here, and a lot of the times that all they have to worry about is arsenic. And I've actually talked to an operator, and he was telling me how he was giving his, I believe, his 2-year-old son a bath, and they turned on their bathtub, and they just recently moved to this small town as well. And when they turned on their tub, all that water that was coming out was orange. And apparently people around the small community didn't care about it, but it turns out their system had, or their water had, a lot of iron and arsenic. And they contacted their mayor, and they're like, they told the mayor that something has to be done, they have to be fixed. And that actually helped. They actually contacted someone out to install a new aeration system to solve all this problem. So I've actually seen something I've seen an arsenic problem, and it's pretty relevant or prevalent out there. So the 2 resources I have here one is a presentation from Darren Lytle from the US EPA on iron-based arsenic removal process, and how an iron removal process can be modified to remove arsenic as well. Now, let's bring this presentation. This presentation is pretty old. It's from 2004, but it still provides relative information on the chemistry of the process, shows a process flow diagram, and provides several case studies on how different process setups differs in the removal efficiency. And when I first started working on this project, my supervisor, guided me to this presentation, and he was like, if you want to learn about arsenic removal, look at this presentation. And it is really helpful. It goes through the chemistry, the process, case studies of using different types of process and different treatment methods, and how the treatment, how effective the iron and arsenic removal efficiency is. And using different case studies shows different results, and it helps you understand, and it helps give operators a chance to look at, if they have one treatment option in their facility, what else do they have to add to, remove iron or arsenic, depending on which one suddenly comes up as a problem in their system. So here's actual pictures of the setup pilot studies that they had, and the conclusion of what their case studies showed. Now, another arsenic-related resource I have is a report that was written by the Midwest Technology Assistance Center, which is led by U of I in the Illinois State Water Survey, and it's this 27-page report, and it discusses low-cost arsenic removal techniques from groundwater using the Fenton reaction, treatment efficiency, and cost analysis for the chemicals used. And just as I mentioned before, in Illinois, we have a lot of especially in central and southern Illinois, arsenic is a prevalent contaminant in the groundwater. So, since we're at the Illinois State Water Survey, and a lot of the uh, some of the work that goes on is related to groundwater, this paper was definitely interesting to read, to see how Fenton reaction, which is a treatment technology that I've seen a lot with recent treatment technologies, and how much you can optimize it, and how effective it is to remove arsenic. Now, both of these documents again can be found in our resource database, and I know it's getting redundant now, so I'm just gonna quickly show you how you can search this by choosing category. We actually have an arsenic category that's by itself, as long along with our drinking water treatment category. So if we choose arsenic as the category and choose arsenic treatment as a keyword, we narrow it down to 41 resources, and they're all related to arsenic. Arsenic removal during iron removal. Here's the first presentation I mentioned, and if we go to the next page, and while we're going through these, there's a bunch of case studies that we also have added. Here's some arsenic treatment technologies in Alaska, in Paramount, California. There's a lot of research reports, actual fact sheets, manuals. We have all different kinds of resources on our database. And here we go. This is the report that I mentioned before. All right. Now, we're going to talk about disinfection and disinfection byproducts. I chose this topic since past studies that show national trends in drinking water quality violations show that majority of violations are related to total coliforms and DBPs. So I thought it would be nice to go over the different types of DBP-related documents that we have. The first resource is a presentation from Florida Rural Water Association, and their presentation provides a review of DBP MCLs, how DBPs such as trihalomethanes, haloacetic acids, how they're formed, the chemistry behind the formation, from using chlorine within the distribution system, and strategies operators can take to mitigate the formation of DBPs. And when I first started learning water treatment, I knew that chlorine was an effective disinfectant, but I didn't know about the existence of DBPs until I started looking at violations. And this presentation actually helped me out a lot, understanding, how natural organic material like NAM is the reason why the DBPs can form, how different amount of TOC in various water can affect DBP formation, and ways to reduce DBPs forming within the distribution system. So this and how to actually understand what a breakpoint chlorination curve was. That was really helpful as well, to understand exactly what I was looking at. So this presentation is really easy to understand, easy to read, and helps you definitely understand what the DBP formation and how to mitigate DBP formation. So here's information on trihalomethanes, haloacetic acids, and if you go to the very bottom, here's ways to modify the current system you have to reduce DBPs, and different factors that affect DBP production. So yeah, this presentation is really informative. And the second presentation that I have on this slide is chlorination and chloramine analysis. And in the previous presentation, it actually mentions chloramines as an alternative to chlorine to reduce DBPs. And this is a presentation developed by Hawk. They're a major producer of Hawk test kits, and their presentation is definitely lives up to their name. It's really helpful. It's informative. it describes the chemistry behind how chloramines work. Um, Again, information on breakpoint curves, how to monitor and control chlorination, and how, again, how the chemistry behind or how the chemistry works to reduce DBP formation, or how it doesn't form DBPs. So chlorination, chloramines, the chemistry, and how ammonia, how the whole system works, where chloramines go into your distribution system, reacts with ammonia, and forms monochloramines, which eventually treats the residual chlorine. Again, this presentation was very helpful in understanding the whole process. So, just as I mentioned before, along with DBPs, total coliforms are a major source of violations for small systems. So, the next resource I have is it's a handbook called A Small Systems Guide to the Total Coliform Rule, developed by the US EPA. And it's designed for smaller systems. It provides detailed information on how to reduce waterborne diseases using the multiple barrier approach, what kind of monitoring is required under the total coliform rule, and it actually provides worksheets to help keep track of monitoring and how to understand test results. This handbook is helpful because it provides the monthly monitoring worksheet. It's very useful management tool to help operators keep track of their monitoring requirements and if they are in compliance with the total coliform rule or not. And this is because smaller systems are more prone to violating this because, as far as I can tell, or from reading previous studies, that they either forget to maintain their routine sampling or they collect samples incorrectly. This handbook, it goes through the whole process of why the TCR exists, why it's important for operators to actually, measure for these. And if you scroll down here, here's the monitoring worksheet that I mentioned before. It goes through what kind of information that you need, what do you have to enter, why do you have to enter them, how an example looks like, and actually understand what you're putting in there. And if we scroll down, here are the actual 12 worksheets that you can just print out and just start using them immediately. And the neat thing about this one is if you go to the very bottom, it actually guides you through how to develop a sampling plan, where you should take your samples, how to properly take your samples so you don't get it contaminated, and information on where you should send your samples to get analyzed. And it'll also tell you how to actually understand your sampling results. So if you get your analysis back from the laboratory and it says, your water gave this kind of result, it'll guide you through how to understand what is in your water. Now, one topic that I really wanted to...
Yuki, I'm going to interrupt you for a second here and just let everyone know that I'm including a link in the chat for the updated guide for the revised total coliform rule. I think he just had the wrong screenshot there in his presentation. So I'm including that in the chat box that you have that. It includes, it's from the 2015 version of that document.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right. So this is the last topic that I'll be going over today, and it's a topic that I really want to include in this webinar, and it's on PFCs, perfluorinated compounds. So PFCs right now are listed under the UCMR3 emerging contaminants, and they're currently not enforced, but are contaminants of concern. And to provide an update, just a week ago, the EPA announced that their PFAS action, they announced their PFAS action plan, where they're planning to move forward with the MCL process mentioned in the Safe Drinking Water Act. So by the end of the year, the EPA plans on proposing a regulatory determination, which is a step forward in setting an MCL. So eventually, many water systems might become affected by this. So I wanted, especially small systems might get affected by this. So I wanted to show that what kind of resource do we have on PFC, so an operator who might not have known about PFCs can understand what exactly it is, why it's a concern. So the first resources I have is actually a set of 3 fact sheets developed by the AWWA. These fact sheets provide information on the chemistry, reporting levels, preferred analytical methods, sampling techniques, treatment options, and links to other resources on PFOS. So if you're new to PFCs, I recommend checking these fact sheets out. And these are actually the 3 I have right here. Here's the 2-page fact sheet on treatment and removal. The second page actually gives you what are some treatment methods to remove PFCs, their pros and cons. And the second fact sheet here is they actually talk about what they are, where they come from, how prevalent they are within the United States, and how exactly or what the preferred method of sampling and measuring PFOS and PFOS is. And the third one is a single-page fact sheet and it just provides resources to other organizations for information, like Water Research Foundation. I believe EPA is on here as well. So it's just another resource for our operators to understand what PFCs are. And the second resource I have here is a presentation, and this was, again, it's from the EPA, but this was presented at the 2016 Small Systems Workshop. So, and it provides information or it focuses more on the treatment options available. So it analyzes the treatment efficiency of certain or individual treatment methods, depending on the different type of technology that a system can utilize. So they provide a cost model to determine the most efficient treatment option, and it helps you understand what options are available for operators. So it may come handy when the MCL is actually introduced and you have to renovate your system. This presentation will help you understand what options are available. So back to our database, we don't have that many documents on PFOS yet because there's not that many being produced, but we do try to find as much as we can from regulatory agencies, from research papers, reports, pilot studies, and we try to list it on here. So actually the best way for this is to just type in PFC as the keyword, and you'll get whatever resource we have on here, and along with these as well. So if we skip to the end, here you go, the PFC related fact sheets from Water Online. That's a website that provides updated information on PFOS. And I remember I do go to that website from time to time. And try PFOS. Sometimes just using the keyword, it takes a while for the search engine to actually spit out the results, since we have such a huge document database. So it is recommended to use keywords. Hopefully I can find the documents that I mentioned. Here we go. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, but you get the idea. Our documents are on here. Just use your keyword search, and you should be able to find the documents. And I think that's all I have for my portion of the resources.
All right, thank you. Gonna go back to my screen here. Hey, Yuki, can you see my screen now?
Yep, I can.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that presentation. I will be using a similar format, but we're going to be talking about O&M resources. We also have a little bit less time remaining, so I'll go a little bit quicker. I also know you guys are now more familiar with the tools than you were before, but hopefully you can learn something new about the types of resources that are available in this category as well. All right, so the first one I want to point out is on our event calendar. This is a valve and hydrant maintenance class by the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service, also known as TEEX. This is a 3-day on-site workshop, and we can find that by going to the event calendar and then looking for category, O&M. There we go. And then we're going to further filter that by state, Texas. All right, so we can see there's a lot of events. So one of the things I love to do is go to this view list feature. It brings up a pop-up, and that's where we can find the particular event that we are looking for. So here you can see that in the pop-up, I have that again right here. If you click this link, it goes directly to their website where you can get all registered for the course. All right, let's do the next one. All right, I mentioned our blog before and how much we love to kind of organize groups of resources. So we have this winterizing blog post, and you can find that on our blog. If you go to Resource Library, browse the blog, and we actually have that in our featured documents section, which actually you click here to get to. I apologize for that. This is one of our favorite blog posts. We try to highlight some of the ones we think are the most valuable. We are entering the end of the winter season here, but we try to stay in tune with what's happening. We often have things related to winterizing, dealing with floods, risk communication, things like that tend to be seasonal events as well. So I mentioned we could go to Resource Library, browse the blog. You can also find that from our homepage at any time. Read the blog right here. And of course, if you don't want to have to worry about figuring it out and you want to always know what's new, that's why you should subscribe to our newsletter, because we will always mention our latest blog posts there. Okay. So the next one is probably one of my favorite resources and one of the ones that I thought about when we were developing this particular webinar series. These are EPA's electronic preventive maintenance logs. Now, those of you who have been around for a long time may have known these as the preventive maintenance card file. This was originally a physical index card box that EPA would mail out all across the country that provided suggested maintenance tasks per month, as well as log files that you could use to record your maintenance activities. Wildly popular tool, but they have since updated it to deal with, the way modern technology works, and now they are all fillable PDFs. So instead of being smaller pages that you could even print out, or that original physical format, they're full-page fillable PDFs. And these materials have even been updated for this release. And I wanted to show you some of the things that were in this customer complaint and security threat logs, because the original version, which I believe was developed in 2001, did not include water security related information. So there's this section here, scroll down here, where you can actually record if you receive any kind of threats. This is an example of a telephone threat. Somebody's threatening something to your system. You can record all the pertinent information so that can be followed up. You have that information to transfer to local law enforcement. I love how thorough this resource is, not just for your daily maintenance activities, but also some of the issues that you deal with as a water system operator or manager or employee. Go back here, we can see we have the monthly log, so let's just check into April. Bring that up here. So let's see what they recommend for April. So you have your recommended daily duties, You can see at the top of the screen here, they show what section you're in. Scroll down, let's find some weekly, and then let's find the monthly. So for April, inspect wellheads, inspect and lubricate locks. You know, these are things that especially somebody who has a long time with the system is going to do as part of habit. But when you are bringing new staff on and you're trying to figure out what it is that an operator actually does, this tool can be invaluable for helping in that transition process. All right, so to find this, we're going to go to our resource library right here, document search. So this time we know who developed the document, so US EPA. We got that right here, and then we're going to do category O&M. Oops, I clicked the wrong category. There we go, retrieve documents. There's 162. We'll search for keyword preventive here. Electronic preventive maintenance log. This will take you right back to the website where we were on before. All right, now here is a fun sheet. One of the reasons I wanted to include this one, and Hideyuki touched on this quite a bit with some of his examples, is that this webinar series in particular was designed for new or newer staff, regardless of where you're at within the industry, because we know it's hard to keep track of everything. And a new operator or an operator in training is going to love this chemistry reference sheet from the American Water Works Association. In our previous session last month, we talked a lot about math references, but chemistry references are just as handy and often some of the questions that are missed on those certification exams. So here's the reference sheet. We got a periodic table here, key formulas, dilution calculations, conversion factors, densities of substances. So just a really, really handy quick reference guide for things that you commonly use in your day-to-day. So in order to find that, we'll reset our chart here. We'll go to type, fact sheets, and we'll use our keyword and do chemistry reference. There we go, and that comes up. This is a good example of how oftentimes we always want to have a place to link to. And so this particular document, I don't believe is listed publicly on AWA's website because they often have things behind their login, but they are freely available documents, and so we're linking directly to ASWA's publication of these on their blog. All right, final example here. This one is a little bit self-serving. This is a groundwater and well care class for non-community water systems. This is a course that we've actually developed and host. It's a 2-hour self-paced course. Now, we specify non-community water systems because we know that this audience, the transient systems in particular, may not be as familiar with how groundwater works, basics of well care and maintenance, particularly those who are they just happen to be water system operators because they got into a business or into managing something that happens to have a water system. This course has been pre-approved in 12 states for operator credit, regardless of what type of certification you have. Now, of course, some states are not approving online training and some have more stringent requirements than we can meet at this time, but we're working hard to get that approval in additional states. And I will show you how to find this. This is something we're super proud of. It's a class that's actually based on our private well class, but we have taken out all of the sampling and anything that could possibly be related to the regulatory portion and made a really nice compact class to help the drinking water side of the industry understand how groundwater gets contaminated and how wells function, so that you can have that basic understanding to ask the right questions, know where to go for help, so that you can be in compliance with all those regulations that your state is telling you. All right, so we'll go to our resource library here. You can find it under Resource Library, Small System Classes, Groundwater and Well Care. Or you can just go straight to wateroperator.thinkific.com, and that takes you to the course. It is completely free. As I said, everything else we do is free. Steve Wilson is our project manager here. He developed the course, and it is self-paced. You can see an overview of the full curriculum here. There's 6 modules. Each module has a quiz, and there's an exam and an evaluation at the end. And we'll dive in here and see what that looks like. So there's a little sidebar here that you can pop in and out that shows you the course navigation. It's a mix of text and visuals as well as videos. So here's an example of our what is an aquifer video. It's loading. So we know that everyone is a different type of learner, so we try to mix up the content quite a bit, but to make it engaging and useful. And as I said, we have quizzes at the end so you can test your knowledge. And it also makes sure that when you get to that exam at the end, that you have a chance of doing really well. I think it's a little bit slower because we're previewing it as a student versus actually being a student. So wells and bedrock aquifers that tap only a few small fractures, excuse me. We have to choose one best answer. Should be filled in and a new well drilled, are likely to have poor water quality, are likely to produce less water, or have very low waters in them. Produce less water is my guess. The internet is going slow today. I apologize. Well, I'm almost certain that answer is right, so we will just move on from here. Again, we're really excited about this class, and if you have any questions for us, particularly if you are with a primacy agency, do let us know. We are trying to work really closely with the certification providers across the country to make sure that we meet their requirements and to help operators receive their credit for taking the course. So on that note, there are certificates available for this webinar. We're offering 1 certificate available per each part of this 3-part series because we know that not everyone will be able to attend all 3 sections. So if you email info@wateroperator.org to request your certificate, you can do that now at the end of every webinar, or you can wait until the end if you know you'll be attending all 3. We will be delivering those certificates next month after the end of the last webinar. In addition, the webinar is also already pre-approved for drinking water operator CEUs in Illinois. In other states, it's going to be up to you to determine whether or not a webinar would receive credit. All right, I'm going to take this opportunity for a second here to thank you. We're going to review any questions we have. This is the opportunity for you to check in on any questions. If you have a question, let us know. We have about 7 minutes left. We're happy to demonstrate aspects of our website, answer any questions we have about the particular topics or resources mentioned. Wait just a few more moments for y'all to submit any questions. Got a nice thank you there. Thank you, Gary. If you haven't checked out that link in the chat box, I did submit the link for the updated RTCR guide for small systems. Also, at the conclusion of this webinar series next month, probably beginning of April is when we'll have them posted. We'll have videos for the whole series available online. We won't be able to receive operator credit for those videos, but they are something that you can share with your colleagues, particularly those who are newer to the industry and want to become more familiar with the types of resources and events that are available, and hopefully develop a new favorite, one-stop shop or portal for all of your research needs. Well, I don't have any questions coming in, so I will just thank you for your time and wish you a wonderful weekend. Take care, everyone.